Right now, we need to work within the system as it exists because Democrats, they're playing a very different game on Election Day and the days leading up to Election Day than Republicans are. Democrats are not as interested in the quality of a candidate.
Democrats are the ones who are not interested in the quality of the candidate. So while I try to remember which candidates are not up to par on the Democratic side, I just want to remind you about what candidates look like on the Republican side for the midterm elections. Let's watch.
I did some grocery shopping. I'm at Uygur, and my wife wants some vegetables for crudité.
So I've been telling this little story about this bull out in the field with 6 cows, and 3 of them are pregnant. So you know you got something going on. I don't know if you know vampires are cool people, are they not? But I'm gonna tell you something that I found out. A werewolf can kill a vampire. Did you know that? I never knew that, so I didn't want to be a vampire anymore. I want to be a werewolf.
Depending on what we're putting in it, it'll smell one way or the other. Urine, by the way, if you haven't had anything fancy, has a sort of a nutty smell to it. And that sort of a taste like that too.
You know, he talked about doing a disinformation. What about getting a department that can look at young men, that's looking at women, that's looking at just social media?
But since we don't control the air, our good air decided to float over to China, bad air. So when China gets our good air, their bad air gotta move.
When he dresses like that, it's not an accident. He's kicking authority in the balls.
Yeah.
He said, hey, I'm the man. I'll show those guys who's boss.
And you know what's so funny? I am with many police officers.
Yeah, listen, there are certainly Democratic candidates I don't prefer and I don't like, but there's no comparison to the unqualified candidacy of people like Herschel Walker, Dr. Oz. You get the point.
We're talking about unqualified candidates. We're talking about unqualified candidates. He said that segment in reference to Georgia. Herschel Walker is probably the single most unqualified person to ever run for Senate, and that's only because Donald Trump didn't run for Senate, okay? And so Herschel Walker can't put 2 sentences together. Herschel Walker has over a dozen different personalities. Some of them are werewolves and some of them are vampires. I mean, are you joking? Are you joking? But they live in it. Guys, that's the most amazing part of the story. And we've said it 100 times, you know it, but when you see it, it's amazing, right? They live in a completely different version of reality. And in their version of reality, Herschel Walker's really smart and Warnock is an illegitimate candidate.
Yeah, and look, not everything Hannity said in that segment was inaccurate. There was something pretty honest and correct in what you're about to hear. So let's listen to what Hannity says and then I'll explain.
Democrats are not as interested in the quality of a candidate or holding rallies or exciting voters or kissing babies or shaking hands or going to fairs. No, Democrats, they're hiding. They're avoiding debates. They're avoiding their adoring media fans. They're raising hundreds of millions of dollars. They're using those on negative ads against Republicans.
I mean, I do think there's truth in that.
Yeah.
I mean, look, I think in some instances, it's abundantly clear that the Democratic establishment almost has disdain for their base. I think that they hide from their base oftentimes. And honestly, more than that, they're scared of their base actually asking them to get anything done. Because they run on allegedly wanting to accomplish certain policy goals. And then as soon as they're elected, they abandon those policy goals. And then they run away from their base because they don't want to be confronted about the fact that I mean, think about someone like Kyrsten Sinema, who made herself out to be such a victim because Democratic voters were hounding her to not be such a terrible person in the Senate, who was defeating provisions in the Build Back Better agenda that she purported to be supportive of when she was running for the Senate. You know, and anyway, so there's that. And let's go to this tweet from Eric Michael Garcia. Feinstein says about Democrats having 51 seats, quote, it's terrific and they can work if it's used, but there's a danger in it as well. And that's being too aggressive.
No,
too aggressive.
You wouldn't want to be too aggressive Well, by the way, if she doesn't want Democrats to be too aggressive, mission accomplished. Congrats, Dianne Feinstein. the Democrats are the least aggressive people on earth. Were they gonna be too aggressive because they have the Senate, the Republicans have the House? Yeah, I can't wait. It's never gonna happen, doesn't happen. Feinstein hates her voters. If you remember, a bunch of young people came to her office, asked her about Green New Deal, and she yelled at him how dare you, right? Because she takes money from fossil fuel companies, she takes money from everyone. She's a total corporate robot. At this point though, when it comes to Feinstein, Hannity's also right about the earlier part of the segment, because Feinstein has dementia. You could say, I don't know if it's Alzheimer's, dementia.
It's Alzheimer's, yeah.
Or whatever ailment she has, but she cannot remember a thing. Her brain is gone. And so they're forcing me to say that. I hate saying that, but she's still sitting in the Senate. They will not take her down. It's ridiculous. It's an insult to the voters of California. It's an insult. So look, you can tell who's honest and who's not. When it comes to criticizing Democrats as well as Republicans, we do it. Do you ever see Hannity doing it? There, he's pretending that Herschel Walker is a genius. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me, right? Whereas we can tell you about how ridiculous Feinstein is. By the way, Hobbs, who ran against Kari Lake in Arizona and won the governor's seat, she hid. She didn't just hide from her voters. She hid from debates, she hid from everything, right? She barely even campaigned. Barely even campaigning is a Democratic strategy. They yell at Fetterman, are you kidding me? Fetterman's the one guy who actually campaigned. He campaigned with a stroke, he did a debate with a stroke. He was out there nonstop, etc. But there's one other thing that Hannity, funny enough, was right about. The Democrats do raise hundreds of millions of dollars, right? And they do spend it in ads. Of course, the part he left out is, so do the Republicans.
Yes.
And the Republicans had such a massive advantage in the money that they raised for decade after decade that Hannity never mentioned it on air. The minute the Democrats have an advantage on it, can you believe they're raising money from corporations? And it turns out that it's influencing the politicians, Hannity just found out. Okay, you can see who's honest and who's not. Thanks for watching The Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.